Hello, my name is Holly Tomlin. I'm here to talk to you today about how to do an inbound inspection on a refrigerated trailer. This trailer here is labeled on the side. It starts with a C. This one's C1453S305. And typically our trailers are going to start with a C. Sometimes they're a little bit different, but typically they will start with a C. And that's the number you're going to reference in the iPad whenever you go to enter the information into the system. So you're going to first type in that number, and then you're going to do either an update or an interchange or an open or a return. Just kind of depends on what situation it is. This time here we're going to be doing a return because it was out with a customer and recently came back. So before we get started, we're going to go ahead and turn the unit on to make sure that it works. We're going to flip this switch right here, and we're going to wait for it to come on, and we're going to get the reefer hours so we can enter that, and we're also going to make sure that it's running okay. So we'll let it run for about 5 minutes or so when we're taking our pictures throughout. So while it's thinking about doing that, it takes typically about 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to go ahead and do a few other things. So we're going to start by taking pictures of the VIN plate, which will either be on the front or the side. In this situation, it's the side. And we're going to take iPad, and you're basically just going to focus on this area and hold it still to where it's legible. We're going to take that picture. We're also going to take a picture of the inspection, the DOT inspection. You're going to find the latest one. There should only be one on each trailer. Sometimes there's more than one because they couldn't get it ripped off or whatever. So this one's right by the plate, so we're going to take a picture of that. And then it's still thinking about it, so we're going to come back to the unit. We're going to go ahead and take pictures of a couple other things around the trailer. Next one will be the fuel level. I want to focus on there. This one here is showing it's right at a half. We will document that a little bit later when we start putting the information into the tablet. We're going to take nope, hear it? It's getting ready to start. That buzzing noise is a sign that it's getting ready to start. So we're going to take a picture of each set of tires from the front just to try and get a picture of like what the tread looks like to give us an idea if there's any flat spots or any chunks missing, or if it's in really bad shape, just to kind of give us an idea of what it looked like. When it went out, it also is going to have pictures so they can compare to see if it went out like that, or if it's happened since it's been out. Maybe the driver drug the tires and caused flat spots. So we're going to take a picture of each set. Wait for it to focus. There we go. Same thing with this one here. And this one here, I noticed, has a nail in it. So that's definitely something that we want to go ahead and document. So I'm going to take a picture, but I'm going to touch on the screen where it actually circles what it is, and then I'm going to label it as nail in tire, and I'm going to reference which tire it is. So this one here is left side rear outer. So it's going to be LRO. So we're going to save that picture. We're going to keep on walking around, take a picture of the license plate. Should be the same as when it went out, but you never know. We're also going to get the other tires on this side. And I always start taking pictures with the first set, and then you go to the rear set. All right, so that's all the pictures we're going to take at this moment, except for the reefer. So we're going to go up front. I know it's going to be loud, so I'm going to get my picture, and then I'll shut the unit off so you can hear me going forward. All right, while we're here on the front, we're going to do a few more things. So we're going to go back into the checklist and we're going to start filling some of these things out. On a return, a lot of this should already be in there, like the VIN number, the license plate number, the make, the length, the height, the type, so on and so forth. We're going to scroll down and reefer hours, we're going to enter that in. This one was 21:57. And then the next thing it's going to ask is the last PM date. PM stands for preventative maintenance. So that's going to be in here, and it's going to be on, typically on this filter. This filter and that filter may not be the same, but this is the one here that we're referring to. So this one's got October 22nd, 2018. So we're going to put that in here. And then it's asking for the last PM engine hours, which is 14,694. So we're going to put that in here. Okay. And it asks who inspected it, so I put my name. And the next thing it asks for is the fuel level, which remember when we took the picture, it said it was a half, so we're going to document that it's a half. All right, next thing we're going to measure is the brakes. So you're going to have this tool here. It's going to gauge you and show you what basically the life is on the brakes that are left. So we're going to go underneath and we're going to check each of the brakes. It asks for the front and the rear. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure on both sides, top and bottom, and we're going to take the lowest number and record it in here for the front, and then we're going to do the same thing on the back. So come on down. So under here, you can get in there. In between the brake shoes, there's a hole, and we're going to stick this in there. And I don't know if you can get in close on this side. You can see that it stops just before the 24, which means it's a 22. And we're going to do the same thing on the top. Oh, that one feels smaller, and I can't see it, so I just put my finger on it. It actually stopped before the 20. You can see the dirt line right there. So right now we're down to a 20. Even though the bottom was a 22, the top is a 20. And I'm guessing this side's probably going to be about the same, but we still want to check it. And since I can't see it, I'm just going to stick it in there, and that one is an 18. So we're down to 18. We're going to do the bottom here. That one is a 20. So since 18 is the smallest number, we're going to put that for our front brakes. Now let's go do the rear. All right. Start on this side. That one went in there really far. All right, so that one went to 24. That one also went to 24. And here, you might be able to see this one a little bit better. So that one is only going to 20. As you can see, if you can see the lighting, I'll pull it out. My finger's right next to it, so it did just go to the 20. And where's the other one? I can't see. There it is. Ooh, that one's even lower. So we're down to 16. So 16 for the rear because that's the smallest number. All right, so we're going to put this guy back in my little bucket. And the next thing on the list, it asks for the box PM on date. That's actually the last time that it was inspected with the DOT, which is one of the pictures we took earlier. This right here. So it says March 2020. So I'm just going to put March 1st, 2020, because I don't know the exact date. I'm just going to go ahead and put March 1st. All right, next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab our bucket. We're going to go back to the tires, and we're going to measure the tread depth and the pressure. We're going to reference the make and the size. So each tire, you're going to be filling out 5 different things. First thing it asks for is the tire pressure. So in this situation, this type of tire has these on here. That actually means that it's going to be constantly the same PSI. So that's going to be an automatic just 100 PSI. If those didn't have it, we would have to check it on every one, inside and out, with this here and reference it. But since it has those, we're going to be able to put 100 PSI for every one of them. Next thing it asks for this tire is the make. So it's Goodyear. So I'm just going to put GY as for short. So other ones are going to be different, like Dunlop. I would go ahead and spell out Dunlop. Bridgestone, you can put BS. You can spell them out if you want, but if you want to go ahead and do a shortcut, as long as we know what it is, go ahead and do it. All right. Next thing is the size. Every one of these tires should be 22.5. We just put in 22 on here, and you'll know if it's not a 22 because it's going to look drastically different than any of the other ones. All right, the fifth thing we're going to check is the tire depth. So we're going to take this little guy here, and we're going to stick it in the outer one of these. But before we do so, we want to kind of inspect all the way around and see if there's any spot that's lower than the rest. You know, because if DOT pulls you over, they're going to go by the lowest depth on the tires. So it looks pretty even all the way around. So I'm just going to go ahead and go right here. And you can see right there that it's a 7. So this one's going to be a 7. So that's what I'm going to record for this tire. So we're going to do that on each one of the tires. When you go to inspect the inside ones, it might be hard to read in here. So you can either look on the very inside, or if you've got a flashlight, you can shine a flashlight in there and trying to determine what it is. This one is a Bridgestone. So if I were to look on this side, I would probably see Bridgestone on it somewhere too. So just wherever you need to go to look to see which is best for you. So we're not going to do all the tires. You basically got the gist off of this one here. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to do recordings. So we're going to basically do a video of the complete outside of the trailer, and then we're going to do a video with the doors open, and then we're going to do a video of the inside of the trailer. So let's go to the front. And we're going to do this all on the tablet. So in where you do the pictures, you're going to hit the red button in the center to start recording. So we're going to start in the front. We're going to start this one here showing the trailer number, just to kind of show which one it is. We're going to get as high as you can, all the way around. We're limited on space in here, so I can't back up as far, but if the door was open, I would be able to probably look up a little bit higher. And basically, while you're doing this, you're going to be looking for any imperfections, whether it's dents or dings or holes or scratches or graffiti or anything like that. So when you're doing an inbound inspection, you're going to actually want to refer back to the previous pictures to see if there was any previous damage, which I've got some great examples of that. All right, so we're going to go down the side. We're going to try and capture as much as the side as we can in the full frame. But if you can't get it all, just kind of go around and just gather as much of it as you can, looking at it as you go. You can see here, it looks like they did a previous repair. There was probably a hole there. So we're wanting to make sure that there's no rivets missing. This here, I know from the pictures, was previous damage. Same thing with this here. That was all recorded on this prior to. Same thing with the dents here. So we're still going to record it, but we're not going to take any new pictures because we know it was prior damage. Now this light here looks like this has been hit, and I'm pretty sure it did not go out like that. So I'm going to take a picture, and it's going to circle it. And then when I go back and review my pictures, I'm going to label it as broken. And then from there, they'll determine, you know, how much it's going to cost to repair it. So all this damage looks like it was original per the pictures. So we're going to keep on looking and recording. Want to make sure that the tie backs are in place and not missing or broken or bent. On the rear of the trailer, go ahead and get all the way around the edges. Just kind of, you know, paying attention to the metal and also the seals, making sure that none of the seals from this side are torn, which looks like there's a little bit of a tear here. Once we open up the doors, we're going to be able to see even more of that, I'm sure. So all the way around, and then also go down the center too, so you can get the door rods. Make sure that they're straight and they're not dent. Go ahead and go on this side. We're going to do the same thing. You can see that there's previous damage here. This was recently repaired, it looks like. Looks like they put a new light on recently, so that's okay. Now, you see this damage here that had been covered up by this plate. Looking at the pictures, this was there before. However, it was completely square here when it left. So it looks like they hit this and they pulled this, tearing the corner. So I'm assuming the customer or somebody out in the field cut that off just to kind of keep it from catching on, you know, somebody or something. So looks like the customer hit this all the way down. And if I were to count all these things, I'm going to say it was 17 feet. So I want to reference that. So I'm going to actually take a picture and try and get all of it in there. And I'm going to label it as 17 foot of damage on curbside bottom. All right, we're going to take a picture of this because that is definitely new. All these dents here are new, except I don't recognize that one from the pictures. So you probably can't see from down here, but it looks like there might be a hole in this. So we definitely want to go ahead and take a picture of it. Whenever the estimator goes through the pictures, he may want to go ahead and get a closer detailed look on it. So he'll set up a ladder and make sure, you know, and see if it's been penetrated or not. So we just want to go ahead and document that for now, and then he can assess it later on. So we're going to keep on doing the video until we get to the very top corner. And that is the entire trailer on the outside. Now, we're also going to do the underneath. When doing the underneath, you're just going to put it at a slight angle to where it's going to basically get the hole underneath with all the crossbars and the subfloor, because you definitely want to make sure if the subfloor has been punctured by a tire blowout or rocks or anything. So we're just going to get this all the way down, and it's kind of capturing it from like this corner here all the way through. And we're going to actually do this on both sides because I may see something better on that side than I do this side. Now around the tires, you want to kind of focus in above them on the subfloor because there could be a hole in the subfloor from the tires. And so far it looks like it's okay. We're going to keep on going. And don't see as much back here, but I'm still just going to kind of hold it like this and keep on going. All right. Underneath, I'm going to focus in. All right, looks like all that subfloor is okay so far. Let's see what we got up further. And you don't want to go too fast when you're doing these videos because the camera doesn't like to focus as well when it's moving fast. So we also want to make sure that we're inspecting the fuel tank, that there's no dents, no dings, no leaks. They all looked okay. And it looks like this here had a hole in it before that was repaired. So it looks like it was prior damage. But it's still, if there was a hole there, then we would document it. We would take a picture and we would reference it as a hole, and then the estimator would figure out what he has to do to repair it. So we're going to keep on going. We're going to go all the way around the front. It'll kind of give it a visual straight back. You can see if the crossbars are dented or missing or anything. So that is it out here. We're going to hop to the back, we're going to do the doors, and then we're going to go inside. Typically on an inbound inspection there will be 4 videos that you'll do, depending on the trailer. On the swing doors you'll have 4. On the roll doors you'll typically have 3 because obviously you're not going to need to do the inside of the doors because you can get inside of there. But some of the multi-temps will have doors on the side. So when you have doors on the sides, you'll have to open those up also, just like we're going to do here. and record all the seals. And make sure whenever you open up the doors that you always want to hook them up, because you don't want a gust of wind to come along and smack you or somebody else, or cause damage to another trailer. Okay, all right. So we're going to start on the left side. We're going to do a video, and we're going to start basically at the bottom and go all the way up. You want to try and get the seal, so if you can, go all the way to the side, because you want to get the inner and the outer seal. And you remember before when we were looking at this, we saw some of the seal sticking out. This is in pretty rough shape. This definitely needs to be addressed. So we're going to take a picture of it, and we'll label it torn, ripped, whole, missing, depending on what the situation is. We're going to keep on going up. You definitely want to get all the way around, and you also want to get the door. And we know by previous pictures that this is a repair that was already done. If that hole was there, then obviously we would take a picture of that. We're going to go around the perimeter just to see if there's any dents or anything missing in any of the metal. And then we're going to do this door here. And you can see it looks like this kind of got ripped off a little bit. So that's definitely going to have to be addressed, because there's a nice big hole right there in the seal. Yeah, that's all in pretty rough shape right there. So we're going to take a picture of that. We're going to go all the way up. And at the top corner up there, it looks like that's pretty messed up there too. So I'm going to take a picture of that. We're going to come down the other side. Get all the way down. And then underneath. Now, this looks like it's fresh, but it's not. It actually went out like that. They did not address it, or maybe they did, maybe it had tape on it, but it was like that before, so that is not new damage. All right, so that is all in the doors. Now we're going to go inside and do our fourth video. And I would recommend when you do your video on the inside, definitely use a ladder to get in and leave both doors open. You don't want to leave one of the doors shut, because that's going to affect your lighting in there, and the camera on these is going to have a really hard time focusing on the details. So I'm going to actually, to give us more light, I'm going to open up this door here, and then we'll get started. So now we're inside the trailer. We're going to do our fourth video on this inbound, and we're going to start our video by capturing what the trailer number is. In this case, it only references the last 4 digits of it, but that's okay. We know it's still the same trailer number. So we're going to put the image basically where it's covered in the entire iPad, and as we're walking, we're just going to kind of capture it from the top to the bottom. And it's having a hard time focusing because the lighting's not that great, so I'm definitely going to have to walk even slower. And we're going to kind of be looking and seeing if there's anything new. We're going back and we're kind of remembering what we visualized in here before from whenever it went out, if there was any previous damages, to make sure that we don't capture it again, because we don't want the customer to think that we're trying to get them for something that was already there before. Down here at the end, you've got the bulkhead. We want to focus on that and see if there's any holes, any cracks, any dings, any dents. Anything wrong with it if it's loose. Down here at the bottom, it was like this when it went out, so we don't have to worry about capturing that. And it is still okay to go out like that. We're going to focus on the corners. And then we're going to start going back up the other side. Now you may see random tape in places. You don't have to worry about taking pictures of that. Whenever the guys clean the inside of the trailer, they will remove that as best they can. You'll see that there's some holes here that were caulked before. So we don't worry about capturing those because they were done before, but it looks like we might have a couple of new ones right here. So we want to take a picture of that. And then it looks like this was a repair that was done before, but it looks like the caulk has come loose. So it's not necessarily the customer's fault, but it's still something that we want to address. So we want to go ahead and take a picture of it just to let the guys know that this is an area that we saw in case they don't see it. So far we're looking good. I don't see anything major. Okay, now we're going to drop to the floor. And when we do the floor, we're going to kind of do from like here to about here, just to kind of cover the metal area. So when you're doing the floor, just kind of hold it at an angle like this. That way you can kind of see where you're at when you're walking. And say the customer brings a trailer back and it's really dirty and it's going to require some time to clean it. What you do, just take a picture of the entire thing. You'll choose other and then you'll type out dirty. This one's actually very clean, so that's good. So we're going to go down this side now, basically doing the same thing. I'm going to turn this way because the lighting is a lot better when I come back. And you can see this here. This was work that was done prior to, so we don't have to worry about recording that. If those welds had broke loose, then yes, we would definitely document it just so the guys can, address it again, but fortunately it's still the way that it needs to be. And I missed this earlier. This is a repair that was already done, so we don't have to worry about documenting it. But you can see that there was a scratch here prior to, and underneath there it probably went deeper to where there was an actual hole, so they had to address it. All right, that's it for the bottom. Now we're going to go to the top. And when we do the top, we're going to capture just kind of like we did on the bottom. We're going to capture a little bit down the sides and past the halfway point if we can. If there's an air chute, you definitely want to make sure you get that because we want to make sure that there's no holes or punctures, or even if it's just worn, maybe it's time for it to be replaced. This one looks good. So as I'm videoing, I'm just my eyes are wandering in other places just to see if there's anything that stands out that I might need to document. And I'm going to walk back and capture the other side. And depending on your lighting, you may have to do a slower video. Fortunately, the lighting is working well for us today, so we're able to go about normal pace. All right, so that's that. Now, if you had a roll door, what you want to do while you're still recording, you would pull the door down, halfway, 2/3 of the way, and then you would want to record where the door was because you want to make sure that there's no damage above where the door was that may have happened that you couldn't necessarily see with the door open. There should still be enough lighting for you to capture that little area with it closed to about here, so you definitely want to make sure you do that. So that's it for the inside, and let's go back and look at our checklist and make sure we've got everything. So as far as I can tell, it looks like we've got everything we need to document. If there's any additional comments that you want to put on there saying, a lot of graffiti on the inside, or, it's missing something, something that you really want to stand out beyond the pictures, reference it in the comments. You could even reference anything that's wrong with it in the comments. That way it stands out even more. Like we had the nail in the tire, so we would put that in there. We had the 17-foot on the side that was damaged with the busted light. We'll reference all that in the comments. That makes it a little bit easier for the estimator to kind of follow along with what's going on instead of bouncing back and forth with the pictures. So I would recommend doing that. So after all your inspection is done, all your pictures are taken, after you go in and you can see here, these are all the pictures that we've recently taken. It gives you the option of adding tags. So we don't want to add tags, whether for the VIN, for the DOT, for the fuel, because those are just our normal, just regular pictures. But it's when we go down to, like this one here, that looks like it was broken. So we want to do damage, broken, save. Same thing with this one here. This was the 17-foot. So this is damage, it was dented, and then we also may want to put, 17-foot curbside. save. That way, even though by the picture you can pretty much tell which side it is, it does help to reference which side you're working on, especially when it comes to the tires. Like remember we had the nail in the tire? I put on there that it was in the left rear outer. So you definitely want to specify when it comes to the tires where the issues are at. So this one here, even though remember we had the damage that was there before, but that's new damage. So we definitely want to reference that it's damage. And we'll definitely also want to go ahead and put curbside, just to give them an idea where they're looking. So we got holes here, and we're going to put that this was on the street side, about halfway down. Okay, save that one. And we're just going to keep on going through. So this one here, remember when we took a picture of the floor, we were going to reference other, and we were going to type in dirty. And that's all the tags we're going to do. You don't have to tag every one of them. It's just, it does help to reference, like this one here, that was the seal that was torn. So we're going to do torn. This one was one that had a dent and a hole. Everything else looks okay. All right, so after you're done, you're going to email them, and I'm going to type in my email address. Now you're also going to have the driver who's going to sign these. So you're going to type on add signature. You're going to have him type out his name. So we got John Doe. And you're going to tap on sign, and then he's going to sign. You're going to hit the check mark showing that it's done. And then from there is when you upload it, and it'll email it to somebody within the company to take it to the next level. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.